A preliminary agreement is in place to draw an end to the war in Iran. President Trump is in France for the G7 summit where the framework deal is being discussed. And joining us now is Washington Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal to discuss all of this, particularly with the latest developments out of the war in Iran. To start off, Representative Jayapal, thanks for being here. There's been so much back and forth in Iran ever since for the past 3 months. Why should Americans take any sort of development seriously when it comes to an end in the war?
Well, I think that's a very good question. Trump has announced some sort of a deal 40 times in the last several months, and none of those times has it actually emerged as any kind of a deal. So we are still waiting to see what happens with this one. But I want to be clear that even the framework that has been presented to us, first of all, it hasn't been run through Congress. We have to approve any deal. So far, we haven't even been briefed on a deal. So I'm looking at just what I'm seeing in the papers, just like you are. And there is nothing in this deal that takes us to a better place than we were when the war started, much less to where we were when Barack Obama had negotiated the deal that Donald Trump pulled us out of. So I am deeply concerned that he's continuing to have these threats against Iran. Just today, he said if he doesn't like the deal, he's going to bomb Iran. We have given the power to the Iranians to close the Strait of Hormuz, even if the strait opens up, as is supposedly in this deal. It's going to take 30 days, that's already outlined in the deal, to just get it open. And then who knows how long it's going to take to actually get traffic back up. Meanwhile, we still have all kinds of issues in terms of there was supposedly an imminent nuclear threat to the United States. That's why apparently we went to war without congressional approval. And there's nothing that I see that addresses that. So I just think this is a terrible situation. It's been bad for America. It's been bad for the world. And I think people are right to question whether or not this is going to hold.
Well, speaking of Congress overseeing any sort of framework deal, a lot of people are wondering what is Congress doing about checking the president's powers in terms of, the war has been ongoing for the past 3 or 4 months. We know that the War Powers Resolution, or a few of them have been in some degree passed in the House, but it still continues to snag in the Senate. What should people take away from anything that Congress is doing in terms of bringing an end to the war, if there's interest in that?
Well, finally, Republicans did come on board, and we did pass, the Senate passed a War Powers Resolution. The House passed a separate War Powers Resolution. And so, but it has to hold the president accountable. The president has to take that seriously. And if he doesn't, then Republicans have to be willing to stand up and cut off funding or do some of the other things we can do. So far, that part has not happened. So I would turn it back on our Republican colleagues to say, the president is openly defying you. He's openly defying Republicans even on the Iran agreement. Lindsey Graham himself said, send us the agreement. Congress has to approve it. And I think that this is the situation we're in, where we have a Republican Party that is not willing to stand up for the constitutional powers that the founders granted to Congress to check a president. The midterm election will be a referendum on the president. And on the Republican Party. And hopefully, I believe we will take back the House and we will actually be able to start holding this administration accountable.
Speaking of which, you launched your re-election campaign yourself. You are now going for your sixth term.
Sixth term, yeah.
Incredible. How are things, you're going to be going back to D.C. after the World Cup, which we're going to get to in just a moment. But what has been the atmosphere and the mood like now that midterm election campaigns have been launching? There is what's been on people's minds in terms of getting it started as we look ahead to the primaries too this summer.
Well, my re-election launch was amazing last night. We had several hundred people there, and it was really full of energy because I think people see that I am fighting for them, and they want people in Congress who are going to fight for working people. They see the president and the Republicans and Trump's family stealing from Americans in plain sight with the crypto coins, with all the money taxpayer money that's being used to enrich the people in the cabinet and the White House, and they want that to stop. They want democracy to work. And so there's a lot of energy across the country. I've been campaigning for candidates across the country, and they're all winning, even in Trump plus 5 districts, Trump plus 10 districts. We are putting forward real populist working class candidates who have a spine and who will stand up. And frankly, Christine, I think the energy is so good for us. but we have to make sure Republicans don't try to steal the election, which obviously we're working very hard on.
We'll continue to stay in touch as the primaries even get away later on this summer. Speaking of energy, World Cup is now officially here in Seattle. You yourself attended one of the games, and you're going to be going this Friday.
Yes, I went to the first game because I represent Seattle Stadium and Lumen Field and this area, and we're just so proud that Seattle is one of the 11 host cities because, as you know, we are an incredibly welcoming city. And to have people from all over the world come and see how beautiful we are, what a soccer crazy city we are. And the game of soccer itself, I mean, I grew up all over the world, and the amazing thing about soccer, 4 billion people across the world play soccer. You can do it with anything that resembles a ball and a couple of things to mark the goals, and you're off and running, literally. And I think that is a very inclusive, wonderful message. I was there on Monday. It was amazing. I will be there on Friday cheering on Team USA in my colors, and we're even going to do a little march up to the stadium, so I'm looking forward to that. And I think that, you know, I just really appreciate what the World Cup does, what soccer does in terms of pulling people together.
There is a high-profile game happening next week, Iran versus
Qatar, I think?
Qatar.
Yeah, I can't
on
remember.
that, and it's going to be Egypt. Iran versus Egypt.
Okay,
yes, Iran versus
Egypt.
Egypt. High-profile game. A lot of attention has been on that. There's been some controversy as well. What should people think about in terms of security during that game?
I mean, I think that we have to take security seriously, but I really do think that we are going to have a great game. And obviously that's leading into Pride weekend.
Sure.
And I think there's no better place than Seattle to showcase how important Pride is to us and LGBTQ equality rights are to us. So we'll be showcasing that, and that'll just be 2 days before the Pride Parade,
yes.
which I will be out in the streets
wonderful.
for Pride Parade as well on Sunday, a week from Sunday. So we're looking forward to all of that.
Okay, great. Well, thank you very much, Representative Jayapal, as always, for being here. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine.